In the shining hall of the Illyrian royal palace, bright lights danced across high crystal walls. The air smelled of sweet alien flowers and polished metal. Thousands of tall, elegant nobles gathered to watch the wedding. Their skin glowed with soft colors like oil on water. Their long fingers held thin glasses filled with sparkling drinks. They stood in perfect lines, wearing flowing robes covered in tiny glowing jewels. Princess Lyrael walked forward slowly. Her dress shimmered like captured starlight. It moved around her as if alive. She held her head high because she was taught to never show weakness. Her silver hair fell in smooth waves down her back. Her large violet eyes looked calm, but inside she felt tight with worry. This marriage was not for love. It was for peace. The Illyrian Empire ruled many worlds for thousands of years. Now a new species called humans grew strong too fast. The Empire did not want war, so they offered this union. Marcus Hale, the human groom, waited at the end of the long aisle. He wore simple black clothes with no jewels or bright colors. His shoulders were wide. His body looked strong, but short compared to the Illyrians. His face had rough lines and short dark hair. No one could call him beautiful like the nobles. He stood still with hands behind his back. A plain leather belt held one object at his side. It was a sword in a dark sheath. The nobles noticed it right away, and their lips curled in smiles that showed sharp teeth. Whispers moved through the crowd like wind over water. Look at the human. They say he comes from a young, dirty world. He has no grace, no true weapon of a noble house. That iron stick at his side is a toy from their dark ages. He will shame us all by standing next to our princess. One tall lord named Vorin leaned close to his friend. His voice carried soft poison. Our princess must lower herself to touch that creature. His skin is dull. His eyes are small. He smells of sweat and metal, not star perfume. The empire grows weak. Except this. The friend laughed quietly behind his hand. True. And he brings a blade that cannot cut light or song. Our swords sing when they move. His will only clang like broken pots. The nobles around them nodded and hid their grins behind raised glasses. Lyrael reached the raised platform where the holy light orb floated above. She stepped beside Marcus and turned to face him. For a moment their eyes met. His were steady brown and deep. They held no fear or anger, just quiet watchfulness. She felt a small surprise. He did not look away or bow too low like others did before her. He stood as an equal. She did not know if she liked that or feared it. The high priest in white robes stepped forward. His voice rang clear through the hall. We gather under the eternal stars to bind two houses. The Illyrian line of Vealoria joins with the human line of Terra. Through this bond, war stays far and trade flows free. May the light see and approve. He raised his hands, and soft music filled the hall. Air. It came from hidden crystal strings that played without touch. Lyrael repeated the ancient words in the old tongue. Her voice stayed smooth and strong. Marcus listened, then spoke his part in common galactic speech. His words came clear and slow. I, Marcus Hale, accept this bond. I will stand with Lyrael of Vealoria. I will guard her house and honor her name as my own. A ripple of soft laughter spread through the nobles. They tried to hide it, but it escaped like bubbles in water. Guard her, they whispered. He can barely guard himself against our wind. What honor can a human bring except shame? The priest continued, the rings now. They are bands of living crystal taken from the heart of a dead star. One for each. They will glow brighter when true feeling grows. Lyrael lifted her hand first. The priest slid the cool ring onto her long finger. It flashed pale blue, then settled. Marcus held out his hand. His fingers looked thick and scarred next to hers. The ring went on easily. It glowed the same. pale blue, but stayed dim. The nobles saw this, and their smiles grew wider. See? The bond knows. He feels nothing for her. This marriage is empty. Now the vow kiss, the priest said. Lyral turned to Marcus. She leaned in slightly. Her lips brushed his in the lightest touch. It was custom, not passion. The nobles clapped politely, but their eyes stayed cold. Marcus did not pull away or push closer. He accepted the touch, then stepped back with respect. The priest raised his arms once more. The union is sealed. Let the feast begin. Music swelled louder. Lights grew warmer. Servants moved through the crowd with trays of glowing food and drink. The nobles flowed toward the long tables, talking and laughing. They felt sure the worst part was over. The human had stood quiet. He had not fought or argued. He had taken their mockery without answer. Now they could enjoy the night and forget him. But Marcus did not follow the crowd to eat. He stayed near Lyral. His hand rested easy near the sword hilt. Glanced at him. Why do you keep that old weapon here? This is a wedding, not a battlefield. He answered in a low voice. Old habit from home. A man stands with his wife. He keeps his blade close. It reminds others she is not alone. Lyral tilted her head. You think someone here would harm me? In my own palace? Not harm. Maybe test. Maybe mock more than words. I do not know your people well yet, but I know mine. Words can cut deep. Blades can answer. She almost laughed at the thought. Then she saw the way his eyes moved. They watched every noble who came near. They missed nothing. She felt a strange warmth in her chest. Not love, not yet, but something like interest. This human was not afraid. He was ready. Across the hall, Lord Caelthyr watched them too, young and proud. His house trained warriors for centuries. He touched the slim energy blade at his hip. It hummed softly under his fingers. He smiled to his friends. The night grows boring. Let us make it fun. Exhibition, dance, and duel. The human will have to join. It is tradition. He will trip over his own clumsy feet, and we will laugh until the stars fade. His friends agreed with eager nods. Yes, let the primitive show his skill. We will teach him what a real blade can do. The feast continued late into the night. Laughter echoed off the walls. Drinks flowed. Food disappeared. The nobles danced in perfect patterns. Their bodies moved like water. Their blades flashed in light shows of color and speed. Marcus watched from his seat beside Lyral. He ate little. He drank water only. His face stayed calm, but his mind worked. He knew what was coming. He had heard the whispers. He felt the eyes on him. Lyral noticed his quiet. She leaned close. Why do you not speak much to them? He shrugged lightly. They speak enough for both sides. I listen better when I stay silent. She studied him again, this time longer. This human groom was strange, not weak, not loud, just steady, like stone in a river. Water moves around, but the stone remains. She did not know yet if that stone would break under pressure or stand forever. The lights dimmed slowly. The feast wound down. Nobles drifted to their rooms talking of tomorrow. The exhibition would start at dawn. Many planned to wear their finest armor. They wanted to shine while the human fell. Marcus stood when Lyral did. He offered his arm. She took it after a small pause. They walked together down a quiet hall toward the private chambers. Guards bowed as they passed. No one spoke. The only sound was soft footsteps and the faint hum of palace machines. At the door to her rooms, Lyral stopped. She looked at him again. Tomorrow they will challenge you to duel. It is our way to test a new bond. You can refuse. No shame comes from it. Marcus met her gaze. I will not refuse. If they want to see what I carry, I will show them. She frowned. You could be hurt. Our blades cut deeper than flesh. He gave a small smile. Maybe. But pain passes. Shame lasts longer. I choose my path. Then he bowed slightly. Good night, princess. Sleep well. He turned and walked to his own room down the hall. Lyrael watched him go. Her hand touched the ring on her finger. It still glowed pale blue. She wondered if it would ever burn brighter. She closed her door and stood alone in the dark, thinking of the quiet human who carried an old sword and no fear. Outside the palace, night covered the capital world. Stars filled the sky like scattered jewels. The empire slept secure in its ancient power. Tomorrow would bring sport and laughter. They all believed the human would fall. None of them yet understood what slept inside that calm man. None knew the fire that waited behind his steady eyes. The nobles ridiculed the human groom, but soon they would learn why humans never stayed small for long. The feast hall glowed with warm golden light from floating orbs that drifted like lazy fireflies. Long tables stretched across the wide floor, covered in white cloth and piled high with food that sparkled and steamed. Alien fruits, shaped like stars, glowed softly inside crystal bowls. Roasted meats from distant worlds sent rich smells into the air. Servants in silver uniforms moved quietly, pouring drinks that changed color when touched. The nobles sat in groups, laughing and talking. Their voices rose and fell like music. Their long fingers waved as they told stories of old battles and great hunts. They wore their finest robes tonight, heavy with gold thread and jewels that caught the light. Every few minutes someone stood to give a toast, raising a thin glass high. To the princess and her new bond. To peace across the stars. To the empire that never falls. Lyrael sat at the high table in the center. She smiled when she had to, but her eyes stayed thoughtful. She wore a smaller crown now, made of thin silver vines that rested light on her head. Marcus sat beside her. His plate held only a little bread and some plain meat. He drank clear water from a plain cup. He watched everything without staring. His face showed nothing. The nobles kept glancing at him. Some pointed with their chins. Others whispered behind raised hands. Look how he sits so stiff, like a stone block. He eats like a wild animal, no grace at all. That sword still hangs at his side, as if this were a battlefield, not a wedding feast. They chuckled softly. The sound spread, like ripples in a pond. Lord Caelthyr rose from his seat. He was tall even for an Illyrian. His skin shimmered deep blue. His hair fell in tight silver braids, tied with black ribbons. He wore a robe edged in sharp crystal spikes that caught light like tiny blades. He walked to the high table with slow steps. Everyone watched, because Caelthyr loved attention. He stopped in front of Marcus, and bowed just enough to show respect. Much peas. Human, he said in a smooth, loud voice that carried to every corner. Welcome to our table. We are honored by your presence. His lips curved in a smile that did not reach his eyes. I see you brought your little iron friend. He nodded toward the sword. May I ask why a groom needs such a thing at a wedding? Our customs demand beauty and song, not old metal. Peas. The hall grew quieter. Many nobles leaned forward, eager for the answer. Lyrael tensed beside Marcus. Her hand rested on the table edge. Peas. Marcus looked up at Caelthyr. His voice came calm and even. On my world, a man keeps his weapon close when he stands with his wife. It shows he can protect her, if needed. Simple habit. Caelthyr laughed. The sound rang bright and sharp. Protect her? Here, in the heart of the Empire, where our guards stand like walls and our blades never sleep. You think your crude tool can match our art? He turned to the crowd, raising his arms. See, my friends, the human fears for our princess' safety. He thinks we might harm her. Laughter exploded through the hall. Nobles clapped each other on the back. Some wiped tears from their eyes. One lady called out, Maybe he fears she will run back to us after one night with him. More laughter followed. Caelthyr turned back to Marcus. His eyes gleamed. Let us make this night better. Tomorrow we hold the exhibition. It is our oldest tradition. After the vows, the new bond shows strength through dance and duel. Grace, speed, skill, all on display. You will join us, of course. It would be rude to refuse. Marcus nodded once. If it pleases the court, I will join. The nobles roared with delight. They raised glasses high, to the human, to his brave heart, to the show he will give us. Caelthyr bowed again, deeper this time, but the bow mocked more than honored. Then he returned to his seat. His friend slapped his back, praising his clever words. Lyrael leaned close to Marcus. Her voice stayed low. You do not have to do this. The exhibition is hard, even for our best. Blades move fast. They sing, they cut light itself. Your sword is heavy and slow. Period. Marcus met her eyes. I know what I carry. I also know what I can do with it. Let them laugh tonight. Tomorrow they see different. She frowned. You could get hurt badly. Our duels look gentle, but they teach real pain. Pain I understand, he said simply. I grew up on a world that taught it early. Before she could answer, another noble stood. This one was older, with skin like pale moonlight. He raised his glass. To the princess who marries for duty, to the human who marries for hope. May their bond last as long as our empire. Everyone drank. The toast sounded kind, but the words hid sharp edges. Lyrael drank too. Her face stayed smooth. Marcus lifted his cup of water and sipped. The music started again, soft at first, then faster. Crystal strings played notes that floated through the air. Nobles rose to dance. They moved in pairs. Their bodies flowed like water. Their arms lifted high. Blades appeared in their hands, not to fight, but to weave patterns of light. The blades hummed, singing high, clear songs as they cut harmless arcs through the air. Colors flashed red, blue, green, gold. The crowd clapped in rhythm. Caelthyr joined the dance. He spun with a partner. His energy blade glowed bright white. It left trails of light that hung for moments like frozen stars. He moved perfect, every step timed to the music. His face showed joy and pride. When the song ended, he bowed to loud cheers. He walked back near the high table, wiping his brow with a silk cloth. Human, he called again. You see how we dance, how we fight with beauty? Tomorrow you try. Perhaps you can show us your earth steps. We promise not to laugh too hard. More laughter rolled through the hall. Marcus did not answer. He only watched Caelthyr with steady eyes. The night grew late. Servants brought sweet cakes shaped like blooming flowers, and drinks that tasted like summer wind. Nobles told more stories. Some sang old songs in high. Lyrael listened, but her thoughts stayed on the man beside her. He had not spoken much all night. Yet every time someone mocked him, he stayed calm. No anger showed, no fear either. She wondered what lay behind that quiet face. A young noblewoman approached the table. She wore a dress of shifting purple silk. Her eyes sparkled with fun. She curtsied to Lyrael, then looked at Marcus. May I ask the human groom a question? Marcus nodded. Speak. She smiled wide. Do your people really fight with iron sticks? Do you not have energy blades or light whips? How do you win battles with such slow things? Marcus thought for a moment. We fight with what we have. Iron works well when you know how to use it. Speed matters, but will matters more. A blade does not win alone. The hand that holds it does. The woman blinked, surprised by the answer. Then she laughed softly. Perhaps tomorrow we see this famous will. She curtsied again, and walked away, whispering to her friends. Once more, he raised his glass one last time. To tomorrow, to the exhibition, to the moment we all remember when the human stepped into our circle and learned his place. The nobles cheered loud. They drank deep. The hall rang with their voices. Marcus set his cup down. He looked at Lyrael. Her eyes met his. She saw something there. A spark. A promise. She did not understand it yet, but it made her heart beat faster. The feast slowly ended. Lights dimmed. Servants cleared tables. Nobles drifted toward the doors, talking excitedly about the morning. Many planned their outfits. their blades, their moves. They wanted to shine. They wanted to see the human fall. Lyrael rose. Marcus stood with her. They walked side by side through the emptying hall. Guards bowed as they passed. The air felt cooler now. The night outside pressed against the tall windows, showing stars in their thousands. At the hallway that led to private rooms, Lyrael stopped. She turned to Marcus. Tomorrow will not be easy. Cael'thir trains every day. He hates to lose. Others will join him. They want to teach you a lesson. Marcus looked down the dark hall, then back at her. Lessons go both ways. Sometimes the teacher learns too. She almost smiled. You speak like someone who has lost before and won after. I have, he said simply. Good night, Lyrael. Rest well. He bowed slightly, then walked to his room. She watched him go. His steps stayed even, his back stayed straight. The sword at his side swung gentle with each stride. Lyrael entered her chamber. The door closed soft behind her. She stood in the quiet dark. Her ring glowed pale blue still. She touched it, wondering if tomorrow would change its light. She lay down, but sleep came slow. Her mind filled with images of flashing blades and a quiet man who carried old iron and no fear. Outside the palace, the capital slept under a blanket of stars. The nobles dreamed of victory. The empire felt safe in its ancient ways. None of them knew yet what waited in the morning. None understood that the human groom they mocked carried more than a sword. He carried the weight of a species that never quit. The feast had ended in laughter. Tomorrow, the laughter would change. The morning sun rose pale and silver over the capital world. Its light poured through tall crystal windows into the grand hall. The floor had been cleared during the night. Now a wide circle of black obsidian marked the dueling ring. Around it, the nobles gathered in fresh robes and shining armor. Their faces showed excitement and cruel smiles. They whispered bets on how fast the human would fall. Some said, 1 minute. Others laughed and said less. Floating orbs hovered above, sending soft white light down. The air smelled clean like fresh rain mixed with metal polish. Servants moved along the edges, setting out trays of cool drinks and soft cloths for sweat. No one expected much blood. Today was sport, not war. Princess Lyrael sat in the front row on a raised chair of carved white stone. She wore a simple gown of deep blue that matched her eyes. Her hands rested folded in her lap, but her fingers twisted together. She watched the circle with a calm face. Inside her stomach felt tight. Had not slept well. Dreams of flashing blades and red blood had kept her awake. Marcus walked in last. He still wore the black tunic from the wedding night. It looked plain next to the bright armor all around him. His boots made soft sounds on the stone floor. The sword hung at his side, still in its dark sheath. He stopped at the edge of the circle and looked around slowly. His eyes met many gazes. Some mocked, some curious, none scared him. Lord Cael'thir stepped forward first. He wore full ceremonial armor that shifted like liquid silver. It caught the light and threw it back in sharp flashes. At his hip hung a long energy blade. The hilt glowed faint blue when his fingers touched it. He smiled wide, showing perfect teeth. Human, he called loud enough for all to hear. You came. You honor us with your courage. Or perhaps you simply do not understand what waits. 2 other nobles joined him. One was Lady Sereth, tall and thin with skin like polished pearl. Her blade was shorter, curved, and hummed, high like a song. The other was Lord Drace, broad-shouldered with dark green skin. His weapon looked heavy, but moved light in his hand. They formed a loose triangle facing Marcus. The crowd grew quiet, waiting. The High Marshal, an old Illyrian with white hair and a stern face, stepped to the center. He raised one hand. Silence fell like a curtain. This is the exhibition of bond, a test of grace, skill, and will. No killing blows, no true harm, only display. The new groom will face 3 of our finest. Let the circle judge. He looked at Marcus. Do you accept these terms? Marcus nodded once. I accept. The marshal stepped back. He clapped his hands once. A clear chime rang through the hall. The orbs above brightened. The duel began. Caelthyr moved first. He lunged smooth and fast. His blade snapped out in a bright arc of white light. It cut the air with a singing whine, aimed straight at Marcus' chest. The crowd leaned forward, expecting the human to jump back or fall. He stepped sideways, just enough. The blade passed close enough to heat his sleeve, but missed skin. He felt the burn, but ignored it. His right hand dropped to the sword hilt. Lady Sereth came next. She spun low, her curved blade sweeping at Marcus' legs. It moved like wind, quick and silent. She expected him to leap or stumble. Instead, he dropped to one knee. The blade hissed over his head, close enough to cut a few strands of his hair. He stayed low, eyes locked on her. Lord Drace charged straight. His heavy blade came down in a crushing overhead strike, meant to force Marcus to block or run. The impact would break bone if it landed. Marcus rolled left. The blade struck obsidian with a crack that echoed. Sparks flew up. The floor showed a thin scorch mark. The 3 Illyrians paused for a heartbeat. They had expected easy victory. Now the humans still stood untouched. Their smiles faded a little. Caelthyr laughed, but the sound came forced. Well played, ape. You dodge like a rat. You can fight. He attacked again. This time with Sereth and Drace together. They moved in perfect pattern. One high, one low, one side. Their blades wove a net of light and song, meant to trap and cut Marcus from every angle. The crowd gasped at the beauty of it. Their movements flowed like dance, deadly dance. Marcus drew his sword then. The plain steel blade slid free with a soft metallic whisper. No hum, no glow, just cold iron in morning light. The nobles laughed again. That toy will shatter on first touch, one shouted. Marcus held the sword in both hands, low and ready, his feet planted wide, his breath came steady. The first blade came, Caelthyr's white light. He met it with steel. A loud clang rang out. The energy field sparked against metal. Caelthyr's arm shook from the force. He stepped back surprised. His hand tingled. Sereth struck next. Her curved blade sang high. Marcus twisted his wrist. The swords met edge to edge. Another clang. This one sent her spinning off balance. Herself, but her eyes widened. Drace roared and swung hard. Marcus ducked under the blow, then came up inside the reach. He drove his shoulder into Drace's chest. The Illyrian staggered back, armor dented from the human strength. The crowd murmured. They had never seen such a thing. The duel changed now. No more mocking laughs, only focused eyes. Marcus moved forward, not fast like them, but steady like a wave. He blocked Caelthyr's next strike, twisted the blade aside, and countered with a quick slash. The flat of his sword slapped against Caelthyr's armored arm. The hit rang loud. Caelthyr grunted and dropped to one knee. His blade flickered. Sereth tried to flank. Marcus spun, met her strike, parried, then kicked low. His boot caught her shin. She yelped and hopped back, pain clear on her face. Drace charged again, rage in his eyes. Marcus sidestepped, caught the swinging arm, and used the momentum to throw him. The big Illyrian flew out of the circle, crashed into a table. Glasses shattered, drinks spilled. Nobles scattered with shouts. Only Caelthyr remained. He rose, breathing hard. His pride burned hotter than any wound. He raised his blade high, charged with full speed. The light flared bright enough to blind for a moment. Marcus waited calm. Then when Caelthyr overreached, Marcus stepped in close, blocked the strike high, and brought the pommel of his sword up hard. It struck Caelthyr's temple with a dull crack. The lord's eyes rolled back. He fell like a cut tree, armor clanging on obsidian. Silence covered the hall, heavy, complete. No cheers, no laughs, only breathing and the faint hum of dying energy blades. Marcus stood in the center. Blood trickled from a shallow cut on his ribs where Sereth had grazed him. His tunic hung torn. His sword point rested on the floor. He breathed deep, but even. His face showed no triumph, only quiet focus. Lyriel rose from her chair. Her hands shook a little. She walked to the circle edge, her eyes locked on Marcus. For the first time, she saw him, not as a stranger, not as a duty, but as something strong, something real. The nobles stared. Some mouths hung open, others gripped chair arms tight. The marshal stepped forward, slow. He looked at the fallen three, then at Marcus. "The circle has judged," he said, voice low. "You fought with honor." Marcus sheathed his sword. The click sounded loud in the quiet. He wiped blood from his side with his sleeve. Then he turned to Lyriel. "I am sorry for the mess," he said soft. "Old habit from home." She stepped closer. Her hand reached out, touched the cut on his ribs. Her fingers came away red. She looked at the blood, then at him. "You are hurt." "It will heal," he answered, simple. The nobles began to move. Some whispered in awe. Some bowed heads. Others still looked stunned. Caelthyr stirred, groaned, helped up by friends. He rubbed his head, looked at Marcus. Then slowly he bowed deep, not mocking this time, real respect. "You fight like stone," he said, voice rough. "Unbreakable." Followed. They bowed to the human groom. No laughter remained, only new understanding. Lyriel stood close to Marcus now. Her ring glowed brighter than before. Not bright yet, but warmer. She felt it pulse against her skin. She looked into his eyes and saw the same steady fire that had carried him through the duel. The exhibition ended not with cheers, but with quiet respect. The nobles would remember this morning for years, the day the human drew his sword and taught the Empire something new. Outside, the sun climbed higher. The palace woke to a changed world. The ridicule had died. The human groom had stood, and the old nobles had learned why humans never stayed weak for long. The silence in the grand hall pressed heavy like thick fog after Caelthyr fell. The black obsidian floor still held faint scorch marks from energy blades. Marcus stood in the center of the circle. His chest rose and fell with deep, even breaths. Sweat mixed with the thin line of blood on his torn tunic. The shallow cut across his ribs stung, but he paid it no mind. His sword rested point down against the stone. The plain steel blade caught the light from above and threw back dull silver gleams. The nobles around the ring stared wide-eyed. Some gripped the arms of their chairs tight. Others stood frozen halfway out of their seats. The floating orbs above seemed to dim for a moment, as if the hall itself held its breath. Lady Sereth knelt on one knee, holding her bruised shin. Lord Drace pushed himself up from the broken table. Shards of crystal glass stuck to his armor. He shook his head slow, like someone waking from a dream. Caelthyr lay still for long seconds. Then his chest moved, groaned low, and rolled to his side. Friends rushed forward. They lifted him, careful. His silver braids hung loose now. One braid had come undone. His eyes opened blurry at first. Then they focused on Marcus. He pushed helpers away and stood on shaky legs. His liquid armor showed dents where the flat of the human sword had struck. His temples swelled red. Caelthyr looked at Marcus long and hard. No mockery remained in his face, only raw surprise mixed with something close to fear. He touched his temple, winced, then he straightened as much as pain allowed. He bowed deep, slow and full. The motion carried real weight. His voice came rough but clear. "You fight like gravity itself, unyielding, No flash, no song, just force that breaks what stands against it. I was wrong to call you ape. The words hung in the air. The nobles heard them clear. A soft gasp moved through the crowd. One by one heads turned. Others bowed too. Not deep like Caelthier, but enough to show change. Forward. He spoke loud so all could hear. The circle has spoken. The human groom did not fall. He stood. He taught us. More voices joined. Quiet at first, then stronger. They are right. He took 3 of our best. He bled, but never broke. Look at his eyes. No hate, no pride, only calm. The murmurs grew into a low wave of agreement. The laughter from before had vanished like smoke in wind. Lyrael walked into the circle now. Her blue gown brushed the obsidian. She moved slow, deliberate. Her face stayed composed, but her hands trembled just a little. She stopped in front of Marcus, close enough to smell the sharp tang of his blood and sweat. She looked up into his face. His brown eyes met hers, steady as always. A small cut marked his cheek from a near miss. She had not noticed it before. "You are hurt," she said soft. Her voice carried only to him. "It will close," he answered plain. He lifted his free hand, pressed it to the cut on his ribs. Blood seeped between his fingers, but he did not flinch. Habit, pain, comes and goes. Duty stays. She reached out. Her long fingers touched the torn cloth over his wound. She pulled it aside, gentle. The cut looked clean, not deep, but red against his skin. She pressed her palm there, light pressure to stop the flow. Her touch felt cool against his heat. For the first time since the wedding, she felt something shift inside her chest. Not duty, not politics, something warmer, something alive. Marcus looked down at her hand, then up at her face. He spoke quiet. "I did not mean to make a mess of your tradition." "You did not make a mess," she answered. "You made truth. They laughed at you. They saw weakness. You showed them strength. They will not forget this." Around them, the nobles began to move again. Some came closer. Others talked in low voices. Servants hurried with clean cloths and healing salves. One brought a small silver bowl of clear liquid that smelled sharp and clean. Lyrael took a cloth, dipped it in the liquid, then pressed it to Marcus' side. Hissed soft through his teeth, but held still. The High Marshal walked forward now. His white hair gleamed under the orbs. He stopped at the circle edge and raised both hands. "The exhibition is complete," he declared. "The bond is tested. The groom has proven his place. Let no one question his right to stand with our princess." A ripple of agreement passed through the crowd. Some clapped slow and respectful. Others nodded heads. The marshal looked at Marcus, then bowed slight. "You fought with honor, human. Your blade may lack our song, but it carries your will. That will proved enough." Marcus inclined his head in return. "Thank you, Marshal. I came to honor the bond, not to shame your ways." The marshal studied him a moment longer. Then he turned to the crowd. "Let the feast resume. Tonight we celebrate not just a marriage, but a lesson learned." Servants moved fast. They swept broken glass, cleared spilled drinks, set new tables. The music started again, soft at first. Crystal strings played, gentle notes that filled the hall without force. Nobles drifted back to seats. Some still stared at Marcus with new eyes. Others talked excited about what they had seen. Caelthier approached slow, his steps careful. He stopped in front of Marcus and Lyrael. He bowed again to her first, then to him. "I ask your pardon," he said. "I spoke words of scorn. I see now they were empty. Your strength is not like ours. It is heavier. It endures. I will remember this." Marcus met his gaze. "No pardon needed. You tested me fair. I answered fair. We both learned." Caelthier gave a small, tight smile. Then he walked away, head high, but changed. Lyrael turned back to Marcus. She still held the cloth to his side. Her other hand rested light on his arm. "You could have refused," she said. "You could have walked away." "I could have," he agreed, "but then the whispers would never stop. Your people would always see me as weak, a joke, a duty to endure. I chose different." She looked at the sword, now sheathed at his side. "That old iron blade. You carried it through 3 of our finest." "How?" He shrugged light. "It is not the blade. It is the hand, the mind, the years of falling and rising again. My world taught me hard lessons. I listened." Her ring glowed brighter now. The pale blue had warmed to soft gold. It pulsed gentle against her finger. She noticed and lifted her hand. She stared at it, then at him. "The bond knows," she whispered. "It feels what I feel." Marcus looked at the ring too. He said nothing, but his eyes softened just a fraction. The hall filled with life again. Laughter returned, but different, lighter, respectful. Toasts rang out, to the princess, to the groom, to the union that grows stronger than expected. Nobles raised glasses high. They drank deep. Some even nodded to Marcus as they passed. Lyrael guided him to a side bench, away from the main crowd. She sat beside him. A servant brought water and fresh cloth. She cleaned the last of the blood from his skin. Her movements stayed careful, gentle. When she finished, she looked up at him again. "Thank you," she said, "for standing, for not breaking, for showing them who you are." He gave a small smile, tired but real. "No need for thanks. I stood for you. That is enough." She leaned closer. Her shoulder touched his. They sat quiet for a time. The music played soft around them. The nobles danced again, but slower, more thoughtful. The night stretched on, warm and bright. Outside the palace windows, the capital city sparkled under twin moons. Ships moved silent in the sky. The empire continued its ancient dance. But inside the hall, something new had begun. A human groom had drawn his sword, and the old nobles had learned respect. The Ridiculed died forever. In its place grew something stronger. Understanding, honor, and perhaps in time more. Lyrael rested her head light against Marcus' shoulder. He did not move away. He only sat steady, like the stone he had proven to be. The feast continued late. The stars watched overhead. The bond between human and Mayborn, Illyrian, no longer felt cold or forced. It felt real. It felt possible. And in the quiet spaces between music and talk, the ring on her finger burned warmer still. The feast hall filled with warm light once more. The floating orbs glowed soft gold now, like setting suns on a calm sea. Tables stood ready again, covered in fresh white cloth. New food arrived on silver trays, glowing fruits, roasted meats, sweet cakes shaped like flowers. Drinks sparkled in tall glasses, changing color when lifted. The music played gentle. Crystal strings sang low and slow. The nobles returned to their seats. Some walked slow, still thinking of the duel. Others talked in quiet groups. Their voices carried respect, not scorn. Lyrael sat beside Marcus at the high table. Her hand rested light on his arm. The cloth she used to clean his wound lay folded beside her plate. His cut had stopped bleeding. The salve the servants brought worked fast. His skin already looked less red. He ate small bites of bread and fruit. He drank clear water. His face stayed calm, but tired lines showed around his eyes. The nobles watched him different now. No more pointed fingers, no more whispers behind. Hands. Instead, some raised glasses when they passed. They nodded heads. Some even smiled small, real smiles. A young noblewoman approached the table. She curtsied deep to Lyrael, then to Marcus. Her voice came soft. "I saw what you did in the circle. It was not pretty like our dances. It was strong, like mountains. I honor that strength." Marcus inclined his head. Thank you. Your words mean much. She bowed again and walked away. Her friends gathered close, talking excited about the human who stood against three. Lord Caelthier sat at a nearby table now. His head bandage looked white against his blue skin. He ate slow. His friends spoke low to him. He listened, then looked up at Marcus. Their eyes met. Caelthier raised his glass slow, a silent toast. Marcus lifted his water cup in return. The gesture felt heavy, with new understanding. An older lord stood at the center of the hall. He raised both hands. The music stopped. Quiet fell. He spoke loud, clear. Tonight we gathered for a wedding. Simple duty. We thought the human groom small and weak. We were wrong. He faced our best. He bled but never fell. He taught us that strength wears many faces. Some sing, some shine, some simply endure. Let us drink to the bond that grows stronger. Let us drink to Princess Lyriel and Marcus Hale. Glasses lifted high, cheers rang out, warm and true this time, no mockery hid inside. The sound rolled through the hall, like thunder that brings rain, not storm. Everyone drank deep. Lyriel lifted her glass. Her eyes met Marcus. She drank slow. The ring on her finger burned bright gold now. It pulsed warm against her skin. She felt it in her chest, like a second heartbeat. Marcus watched the nobles. He saw the change in their faces, the way they looked at him now. Not as joke, not as outsider, as equal, as someone who belonged. He felt no pride swell inside, only quiet relief. The path he chose worked. The whispers stopped. The laughter died. Lyriel leaned close. Her voice stayed low for him alone. Then, win a duel. You changed minds. You changed hearts. They see you different now. They see us different. He turned to her. His brown eyes held hers steady. I did not come to change them. I came to stand with you. That was enough. She smiled small, the first real smile since the wedding began. It made her face softer, her violet eyes brighter. Perhaps it was enough for them, but it means more to me. You stood when you could have sat. You fought when you could have walked away. You showed me what a true bond looks like. He reached out. His rough hand covered hers gentle. The touch felt warm, solid. Her fingers curled around his. They sat like that for long moments. The world moved around them, but they stayed still. The music started again. Nobles rose to dance. This time the steps looked different, slower, more open. They invited others to join. Some Illyrians approached Marcus. They bowed polite. One asked, "May we see your blade again, not to fight, only to understand." Marcus stood slow, drew the sword careful. The steel slid free, quiet. He held it flat across his palms. The edge looked plain. No glow, no hum, just honest metal, scarred from years of use. The nobles gathered close. They touched the blade light with careful fingers. They felt the weight, the balance. One said, "It feels alive in a different way, like it remembers every fight." Another nodded, "It lacks our grace, but it carries your story. That makes it strong." Marcus sheathed the sword again. The click sounded final. He sat back down. The nobles returned to their dances. Their movements flowed smooth, but now they glanced at him with respect. As the night grew deeper, servants brought more food and drink. Stories started. Old tales of Illyrian heroes, mixed with new ones about the human who came from a young world and stood unbroken. Laughter came easy now, warm and shared. Marcus listened. He spoke little, but when he did, his words landed solid. The nobles leaned in to hear. They asked questions about Earth, about human ways, about battles fought with iron and will. He answered plain, no boast, no lie, just truth. Lyriel watched him. She saw how they listened, how they nodded, how respect grew with every word. Her chest felt full. Something new bloomed there. Not just duty, not just alliance, something deeper. She squeezed his hand. He squeezed back, gentle. When the music slowed to almost nothing, the High Marshal stood again. He raised his hands, one last time. "The hour grows late," he said. "The stars fade toward morning. Let this night end with promise. The bond between Thaloria and Terra stands firm. It stands stronger because of what we saw today. Let no one question it. Let no one doubt it. Sleep well, friends. Tomorrow the Empire wakes changed." Nobles rose slow. They bowed to Lirel and Marcus. Many spoke soft words of good night. Some touched their shoulders in respect. Others simply nodded deep. The hall emptied gradually. Servants cleared tables. Lights dimmed to gentle glow. Lirel and Marcus stood together. They walked down the quiet hall toward private chambers. Guards bowed as they passed. The palace felt peaceful now. No tension. No whispers. Only calm. At the door to her rooms, Lirel stopped. She turned to him. Her hand still held his. She looked up into his face. "Thank you," she said again. "For everything. For standing. For staying. For being you." He smiled. Tired but warm. "No thanks needed. I chose this path. I choose it still." She stepped closer. Her free hand touched his cheek. Soft. She leaned in. Her lips met his. This time not a light brush for custom. This time real. Slow. Warm. Full of new feeling. He kissed her back, gentle. His hand rested light on her waist. They stayed like that long seconds. The world narrowed to just them. When they parted, her cheeks glowed faint. Her ring shone bright gold, like small sun. She whispered, "Good night, Marcus. Sleep well." "Good night, Lirel," he answered soft. "Rest easy." He bowed slight, then walked to his room. She watched him go, his steps steady, back straight. The sword at his side swung gentle. The door closed quiet behind him. Lirel entered her chamber. The room felt warm, the bed looked soft. She lay down, but sleep came slow, her mind filled with images. The duel, the blood, the respect, the kiss. Her ring pulsed warm against her finger. She smiled in the dark. The bond no longer felt like duty. It felt like choice, like future, like home. Outside the palace, the capital slept under stars. Ships moved silent in the black sky. The Empire continued its long, slow turn, but something new had taken root. A human had come, a sword had been drawn, ridicule had turned to respect, mockery had turned to honor. The royal nobles once ridiculed the human groom. They laughed at his plain clothes, his old iron blade, his quiet ways. But he unsheathed his sword. He stood, he bled, he endured, and in that moment everything changed. The alliance sealed not just with words, not just with rings, but with steel, with will, with blood. The stars above watched. Quiet. They had seen empires rise and fall. They knew strength when it appeared. And tonight, strength wore a human face. Morning would come soon. The sun would rise silver over the capital. The nobles would wake remembering. The princess would wake smiling. The groom would wake ready for whatever came next. Because humans never stayed small, never stayed weak, never quit. And now the Empire knew it too. The story of the human groom spread slow at first, then fast. Across worlds, across stars, a tale of one man, one sword, one unbreakable will. And in the quiet heart of it all, Lirel dreamed of brighter days. With Marcus beside her, the ring glowed warm, the future opened wide. The end of ridicule marked the start of something greater, something real, something lasting.